up, guys? Okay, before we get started, I've got to address the hair because, not to be conceited, but I just love looking at myself with it. Okay, so I know I don't have a lot of, subscribers, but yes, I did get a haircut. If you've been following me, you obviously notice it looks very different. And the reason why is that I was talking with my gay cousins, because it's 2018, we don't just have one gay cousin, we got all the gay cousins, and we were talking about what makes you look gay, and obviously that might sound stereotypical and homophobic, but we're all gay, so it's okay. This was all LGBT people talking about this, and I was like, do I look gay? And they were like, no, Rose, you don't. And I was like, what? I was so offended, so I immediately went and dyed and cut my hair, and I'm obsessed because I actually look gay now. What's up, gays? It's your girl, Rose. I think today maybe I should switch my little tagline to What's up, heteros? Because today's video is actually targeted at heteros. So this is a video that I've been wanting to do for a while now, and I just haven't really known how. This channel is kind of more focused on the paranormal, spooky stories, and more just kind of fun stuff, but this is something that's really been weighing on my mind, so I just wanted to talk about this today and maybe give some advice. So today's topic is actually one that I see a lot of parents talking about and making videos about, which is amazing, and I absolutely support that, but I did want to kind of give the perspective of the kid in this situation. Now, obviously, I'm not a kid, but I was at one point, and I did come out of the closet when I was a kid, and so that's why I kind of feel like I do have a perspective that's worth sharing on this topic. Sometimes I feel uncomfortable talking about politics and, I don't know, just even LGBT rights, even though I'm in the community, just because I don't want to share a perspective that's everyone's saying that, what are you talking about, Rose? But this is actually something that I do have a little experience with, so I do want to talk about it today. So today we're going to be talking about what to say if your kid is gay. Now, I am going to get a little more detailed than just what to say if your kid is gay, because obviously what you should say is, good for you, we don't need any more heterosexuals in this world. Just kidding. Kind of. We're going to be talking about the LGBT community. So a lot of people actually don't even really understand what the LGBT community is. So just to go over that real quick, and I'm not going to get real detailed, there's so many identities that you just need an entire video for each one. So I don't really think that this video is the place to kind of get too detailed. So just to go over literally just LGBT, not the entire acronym, not every identity you could ever have, but just those ones. L is for lesbians, so that is women who only love women, who will never be attracted to someone who's not a woman. But yeah, you get the idea. Then there's G, that's for gay, that's men who only love other men. Now the interesting thing about that one is it's often used as a blanket term, because not everyone wants to say they're questioning, because that's just, it kind of just leads to questions that you don't need, oh, what are you questioning? Oh, how do you feel when you see this picture of a man versus this picture of a woman? And it gets awkward and confusing, so not everybody wants to be hey, I'm questioning. So they just say hey, I'm gay. I know a lot of people who have done that, so that is a thing too, but what it actually means, when you hear the word gay, a lot of times, the actual definition is just men who love other men. So, if your son says, I'm gay, I think it's safe to assume that's what he means, most likely. Unless you talk to him and that's not what he means. But you get the idea. So, in the LGBT community, the B and the T are often referred to as the quote-unquote invisible identities. And that's because these two aren't really talked about all that much. Now, first we're going to talk about the B. It stands for bisexual. If you've seen some of my past videos, you probably know that I'm bisexual, so this is the one that's me. A lot of people think that bisexual means you're confused. That's not the case. For me, it's confusing to not be bisexual, but that's just because I am. How can you only be attracted to one gender when, multiple genders are attractive? I look at Shane Dawson, and I'm like, babe. And then I look at Haley Reese and I'm like, babe. And I don't relate to not being like that, I guess. But that's basically what it means. Like, it just means that you're not that strict. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it just means that you're not only attracted to one gender. So, I don't know, just try to understand that. You don't have to be bisexual, like, you don't have to relate, but that's what it means. So next we're going to be talking about one that really trips a lot of people up for some reason, especially in 2018. It trips a lot of people up who grew up in a different time. And it's very easy for me and other members of the LGBT community to get very frustrated and just kind of be like, why does this trip you up? Why is it confusing? And I'm not gonna lie, it does kind of frustrate me because I don't understand why it's confusing. But that's why I want to talk about it, just to explain, because I mean, I'm just trying to see it from another perspective, which is what I'm asking, for heteros to do, to see it from another perspective. If I grew up in a different time and, like, something that was never acceptable and would have never even been considered an option when I was, like, younger, just suddenly became an option, maybe that is confusing. So let's talk about being trans. First, real quick, let's just cover some things that trans does not mean, that a lot of people think it does mean. It does not mean that you like to dress up as the opposite gender for fun. That just means you like to dress up as the opposite gender for fun, and that's fine too, but it's very different from being trans. Being trans means that you are a certain gender, and it's not the gender that you were born with the genitals of. Oh, that sounds so awkward to say, but it's true, that's what it means. For example, if I was a boy, but I wasn't born with a penis, I would still be a boy. Just imagine for a moment, like, you don't have to be trans, you don't have to relate to this, but just imagine for a moment that you are the gender that you actually are, but you were born with different genitals. And everyone told you, like, no, the genitals you have, that's the gender you are. You would feel so uncomfortable. And you would want to be referred to as the gender that you feel in your heart that you are. Okay, here's a question that I get a lot, just because I'm like, this sounds so conceited to say, but it's true. I'm a huge advocate for the trans community, and I always am, like, happy to speak up for the trans community and kind of explain to other people who aren't trans, like, what it means. So a question that I do get asked quite a lot is, what do people mean when they call me a cis, or, like, a cisgender? It's not an insult, it's not anything, like, bad. It just means that you have, this just sounds funny to say. Okay, it just means that you have the genitals of the gender you're born as. Like, this shouldn't be an uncomfortable topic to talk about, in our society, so, like, let's just say it. I have a vagina and I am a woman. I'm a cis woman. That's what it means. So that's all that cisgender means. It just means that you're not transgender. That's literally what it means. Another thing that really confuses a lot of people about being trans is they're like, oh, so are you gay? Are you straight? Are you bi? It could be any of those. Everyone is different. Just like if you're not trans, you can be gay, lesbian, bi, straight, pan. Pan is similar to being bi. We're not going to go way into that one, but since I mentioned it, it's similar to being bi. The point is, if you are trans, you can be any sexuality because gender and sexuality are different. Now, real quick, I'm just going to explain that the identities that I went over today are barely brushing the surface. There's so many identities because there's so many people, and we're all different, and that's what makes us beautiful. And they're all different. There's going to be people who aren't cis and they aren't trans, and they're like, I'm kind of, somewhere in between, and they'll have their identity. It's going to be non-binary, androgynous. There's so many, and there's plenty of videos and, like, information out there talking about those topics. I just wanted to brush the surface to kind of get into what I want to talk about next, which is what to say if your kid is gay, using gay as a blanket term, meaning what to say if your kid is in the LGBT community. A lot of people think that it has to be this big emotional thing where you're like, oh, I still love you, like, oh my gosh, God still loves you, and it has to be this big thing, and maybe it will be for your family, especially if you've been a little more conservative in the past, and you're kind of, like, learning to accept other identities, but it doesn't have to be. When I came out, I literally was just like, I don't even remember exactly what I said. I was just like, hey, Mom and Dad, I think I'm bisexual. Like, I like boys and girls. And they were just like, Okay, what do you want for dinner? And that just, we moved on. That's how it was. And that's really how it should be. Like, everybody's gonna be different, and some people are gonna have a little bit more of an emotional time with it. But my recommendation to parents, based on my personal experience and based on the experience of other people in the LGBT community who I've known who have come out to their parents, tell them that you love them. Tell them that you will always love them. And that if you need to tell them that it's okay, then you can. For me, that's not what I needed, and I almost would have been, like, offended if my parents were like, oh, that's okay. Because, like, duh, I know it's okay. But if you need to tell them that because maybe it hasn't always been okay, then that's fine too. The important thing is to show love and respect and to ask questions if you have them. A lot of people think they can't ask questions because they're like, oh, it's this big secret. No, if you have questions, like, I barely brushed the surface of all the identities that people can have in this video. So if your kid comes out with an identity that you maybe don't fully understand, it is totally okay to, like, say, hey, what does that mean? Like, I don't really know what you mean by that. And have them kind of teach you about it. In fact, I think most kids and most teens that I know who have come out as part of the LGBT community, like, they love getting questions, because you want to explain. Why wouldn't you love getting questions about who you are as a person? Because you're gonna want to explain, especially if you know that the person doesn't understand and you love the person. You want them to understand who you are as a person. So it's totally okay to ask questions as long as you're respectful. Another really important thing is not to question someone, whether they're a kid or of any age, who has come out as part of the LGBT community. The reason is, maybe you question it, and maybe you're right. You know, maybe they aren't that identity, and they are just confused. But trust me, they've been questioning it themselves, and they've probably been having a lot of mental health problems about this, because it's just a fact that people in the LGBT community have a lot of mental health problems, because our society doesn't fully accept the LGBT community as much as the cisgender heterosexual community. So don't question them. Don't say, oh no, that's not really you. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're right to question them, but it doesn't help to question someone. It's just gonna upset them. It's probably gonna cause problems in your relationship, and it's probably gonna cause problems for their mental health. So just accept it. And in your heart and in your head, you can think, oh, that's not really them. They're gonna change their mind. Just think about it this way. If they do change their mind, okay. If they don't change their mind, okay. It doesn't really affect you, but what is going to affect you is if this person has mental health problems because of something that you said to them. So you need to just be supportive and accept who they are at this time, and if that person changes, then, then they change, and that's okay too. So in conclusion, treat people that you care about with love. Don't question who they are as a person. I mean, you can ask questions, but don't question it as in, like, that's not really you. Just question it as in, like, oh, hey, what do you mean by that? And just continue to love your kid, or really, this kind of ended up being, like, whoever. I meant it to be, like, your kid, but it could be anyone. Just continue to love the person in your life who might be in the LGBT community, no matter what. And maybe learn a little bit more about the LGBT community and how you can support them and what resources there are out there for you to learn more and become a better ally. Because that's really the goal. And, treat all people with love and kindness. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you watched the whole video, and especially if you did consider a new perspective. I know that can be challenging. So, everybody, have a gay day. Or a hetero day if you're a hetero, because that is kind of who this one was. This video, for once. Wow, I usually don't target my videos at heteros. Have a hetero day if that's who you are as a person. Keep being you, because you're great. Never change, unless if you want to change. This is getting awkward. Goodbye, everyone. One last minute thing that I do want to address, and yes, I'm wearing a different shirt. This one is comfier. It says USS Nightmare. This is Haunted House in Newport, Kentucky. Not sponsored, because I have like 3 subscribers. But real quick, I did want to address why did I just pause awkwardly? I don't know. I did want to address my plans for this channel. I'm going to start uploading more regularly. I think Sunday's going to be my uploading day. So kind of start looking out for that. New videos every Sunday from this awkward little guy. Love you.